Welcome, future millionaires and billionaires. Welcome to another episode of the Investor Chair, proudly sponsored by Centric. Today we are talking tax, and we're talking to the person that has opened the topic out to majority of South African through YouTube, through Twitter, and all other platforms, trying to educate average South Africans about understanding the world of taxes, because the conversation we don't like having. And today I have the man himself. As you know, guys, I don't like introducing people, so as soon as this video starts, I'll allow him to introduce himself, introduce why he fell in love with teaching tax or even going to a tax field. So guys, do remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell, as well as do ensure that you leave us a comment. Tell us what you think about today's video. Without wasting time, guys, let's get into today's video. And finally, we meet up.
Finally, it's been, we followed each other for quite some time and never got to meet.
And now it happens.
Now finally, now we are here.
Finally it happens, and Trix is bringing us together to talk about tax, to understand tax in investment, because I speak a lot about investment, but tax is a topic or a side of investment that we usually don't touch on. But you are someone who's well educated, well knowledgeable in the field. But before we get into that, I don't like introducing people. I want you to introduce yourself. Who are you and why you got into tax?
Right. So everybody knows I'm Andre Botma.
Yeah.
But I started a journey kind of on social media about 4 years ago, where I tried to do something on YouTube, because I realized, look, if Gordon Ramsay, one of the world's best chefs, can teach you how to cut an onion on YouTube, why should I not teach how to do tax? And I looked at, why is there no tax videos? I was like, okay, let me start doing that. And I made tax videos, and a friend told me, hey, your video that you made, because I thought nobody was going to watch it, your video that you made in Feb, it was October, is now sitting on like, I don't know, 5,000 views, and you've got 500 subscribers. I'm like, people watch tax videos on YouTube, and that was crazy. And so I just carried on doing that, and then I did the same on Twitter, because for me, education around tax is really important. It's something that is not taught very well, especially in pre-university stage. But in general, I worked in the private sector for various accounting companies in the tax field. Finally, I was at senior tax consultant at a company, and then I decided to start my own company called Tax Maverick.
I know Tax Maverick. I've been following your journey for a while, and it's very interesting that you decided, okay, let me just go to the general public and let me educate. And mostly, I think the one thing that I love the most about your content around tax, that you simplify it in a way that even someone in the township with only grade 8 can just watch your video, read your tweet, and understand. And what my friend was saying earlier, that you're even helping him understand his schoolwork through your videos, and that's very important. So the love of teaching tax, let's get into that. Are you a natural born teacher, or do you feel like teaching something that's inside of you?
Yeah, I think teaching is inside of me. I love teaching. I love spreading knowledge. And I also feel like I don't lose out if I teach a very complex topic. But also my love for teaching comes from the idea that, law is very complex, and even finance is very complex. And so the ability to break that down into easily understandable language is something that I took advantage of, because I don't want to, because when you sit in a lawyer's meeting and you're a client but you're a photographer, hope and pray that they can speak your langue, right? Because otherwise they're gonna speak here, and your level of understanding of legal principles is here. So they have to come down, and so that's why I decided to do that, because
that's very rare. Someone to take a complex topic, a very complicated. But tax is, let's be honest, tax is complicated.
I mean, of law, isn't the Income Tax Act considered the most complicated act of all of them?
It is. Actually, it is. I remember one of my lectures mentioned Act, that the most complicated one. It mentioned that one, the Child Justice Act, as well. I think it's Page, the other one as well. So you guys are sitting there on the top of it all. So now let's get into the investment. I think many people are looking to, especially South Africa after COVID, majority of South African move into retail investing. They started looking into buying ETFs, started looking into buying shares, different type of investments, and we ignored the tech side. So I wanted to know, what are your top two mistakes that you see investors, retail investors, do when it comes to tax and their investment? What's the top two mistakes that generally you see in your profession?
I think a lot of times people love rental property, investment property, and they get into it without understanding that they're going to have some tax to pay on the profits. And so then they are caught unawares. Oh, all of a sudden I've got a 10K tax bill. Hey, Andre, why is that? Oh, because you've had a rental property and you're at the 45% tax bracket. So a lot of people forget about tax when they make investment decisions. And so simply knowing what the taxes are on the investments that you make is a good idea. I always say, never make an investment because of the tax benefit. Make the investment if it's a good investment product for you, but be aware in the background of the tax consequence of whatever that investment is earning. So I think the first thing is become more aware of the tax consequences of your investments, and then I think the second thing is at least understand how capital gains work, because you wouldn't believe the nightmare stories. You'd be invested at a investment house, right? And you've got a lot of cash there, and then you decide to cash out. A lot of times, even the CFPs, so sorry CFPs, but a lot of CFPs even fail to tell the investor that there's a capital gains consequence. So a lot of people make investments without considering that there is taxes to pay.
And that's so true, because sometimes people even like, I want to go to this topic as well, the tax-free savings account as well, because sometimes people even don't understand it, the consequences of it, and they just go. But I even saw there was an advert by this other company I would mention, you saying tax-free savings account, you must use it for your wedding, it's a good thing for short-term investors. Like, tax implications, why not you take them into account? But let's touch on it, a tax-free savings account. What exactly is it in terms of someone who's trying to go into investment, someone trying to say, I want to use this vehicle given by government to ensure I build something for myself?
Yeah, so the tax-free savings account is easily one of the best vehicles around. As far as I know, it's also not in a lot of jurisdictions around the world. So South Africa has really jumped onto something interesting here. The downside is obviously the limitations, because you can only put in 3.5 a month or X amount per year, and then you've got a lifetime limit of 500,000 that you can put in. If you go beyond those amounts, then obviously there's penalties. But the nice thing is the income that it generates. So whether it's dividend income, interest, or whether it's dividends and interest, you don't pay any tax on that. Also, when you sell the investment, you don't pay any capital gains tax,
which is good.
But here's a caveat, which nobody talks about. It does form part of your estate. So the difference between a retirement annuity, which people aren't that fond of anymore, and the tax-free savings, is the tax-free savings account forms part of your estate. The RA and pension and provident, they don't.
So a little bit, you must consider those two things before making a decision. And you can use both, actually. You can use both. You can have a retirement annuity and a tax-free savings. I saw someone on Twitter saying, no, you must pick one. I'm like, how?
No, that's not true.
In what world is that even true?
No, they're completely separate. You're allowed to do both.
You're allowed to do both. But let's talk about the tax implication of a tax-free savings account. If you exclude, you just said there are implications of it. So besides the good ones, which you have already mentioned, what are the bad sides in terms of those who go above the limit?
If you go above the limit, as far as you know, the penalty is something like 40% of the amount that you put in. So if you went over the threshold by 20,000, correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think the penalty is like 40% if you exceed the limit. But also, I think there's an inherent limitation where if you have a tax-free savings account and you're already maxed, that SARS knows, or the investment house knows, that you've already reached your limit and you can't add to it.
Oh, okay.
So it's almost like a systemized way of not exceeding that amount. But I have seen people burn their fingers on it.
And also, it's very important to know that you have one tax-free savings account. You may have it at different institution, but it's just one.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct.
it's just
yeah.
one.
You can have it at different institutions.
Yeah, and guys, just a reminder: if you're using the Centric app, it does have a tax-free savings account that you can use to buy ETFs that are listed in the JSE, and a variety of them are very, very, very much. So do download the app. The link is in the description of this video, as well as do ensure that you do your research before picking which ETF to buy. Understand the market, because this channel and Centrix, we're all about understanding the investment that you make. Now, so let's get into your investment thinking and strategy. I want to ask you 2 quick questions. Number 1, I want you to give me the top 3 Centrix ETFs that you think are the best in your opinion.
Yeah, so I fell in love with Satrix Top 40.
Yeah.
I mean, my grandfather invested in it, and then I just followed in his footsteps. Yeah. And then later on, when I decided, let me diversify a bit, I added the S&P 500. Okay. I think that's a okay one to have. And then the Satrix MSI World.
Oh, I think you're the first guest that's mentioning that one. Everyone mentioned the 2 you already did. But they don't mention that one.
Yeah, but perhaps the world one is a bit of an oddball. I know that maybe the jurisdiction leaning is still too much in the USA, but that's one for me to just dabble outside of SA and the standard USA.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah. And also in terms of investor, how would you define yourself as a conservative investor, or are you aggressive investor, or somewhere in between?
I'm somewhere in between. I mean, I remember. Are you familiar with Dogecoin?
Yeah, I do.
So I jumped onto Dogecoin when it was 0.04 cents to the dollar. Wow. And I exited at 55 cents to the dollar.
Why did you not tell me? I feel like I was left alone. Yeah.
No, I was playing around with it, but here's the thing: I've got my standard stock standard. This is a conservative. I mean, also time is on my side. You know, I'm fairly young. There's a large time horizon. So I don't mind being more into equity and ETFs. I'm not a fan of physical property. But yeah, so that, and then if I've got some extra cash, it either goes straight back into my own business, or it might go into buying some Dogecoin.
I love that. And that's about to wrap up the conversation. I have just 2 questions. The first one is, what can we expect from you, your content for 2023, and what is the future around you creating financial education content around tax for South African? What can you expect from you next year?
Yeah, so the plan next year is to hopefully be more consistent on YouTube. I suffer from ADHD, so man, it's difficult to click the button every week and then just make a recording. So definitely more regular YouTube videos. But the big thing that's on the cards is I'm busy with a tax book. Oh. And the title of the book is making tax less taxing.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm hoping
interesting title.
I'm hoping that it will be published on Kindle. Hopefully by 4th quarter next year.
Oh, guys, you heard it here on my YouTube channel. You heard it here first.
I think it is the first social media platform where I'm actually saying on the YouTube platform that's my intent for next year.
That's so beautiful. Guys, I will put all the description to his YouTube channel, everything in the description of the video. All the links will be there. Don't worry about it. And also, just to end it off, that's the one tip, especially because we know the tax year is ending next year, February. This video will go live next year, January. So it's ending this year. Basically, just put it like that. What's the one thing you say South Africans must be aware of coming the end of the tax year? What's the one thing that they must be aware of?
I think it's important to be prepared. I think a lot of people are becoming more aware of what is required from them for SARS and whatnot. But just to be aware, where does all your income sources come from? And make a list and get a rough idea of what your taxes would be. If you're employed, fine, and you don't have extra things. But so many of us have side hustles. So many of us have different ways of earning extra income. And just to be aware, look, you can manage this a little bit better and just be more prepared for the season that starts in July. So SARS gives you like March, April, May, and June, 4 months. 4 months to prepare. And a lot of people are still were caught unawares and unprepared and got hit with penalties at the end of October. And so to prevent that, just be more prepared, know what your income sources are, and you should be fine.
And also, I just want to say this as well. People most of the time try to run away from professional, thinking they can do it themselves. Sometimes also good just speak to a professional and someone that understand tax. As much as we may say, hey, I will do it myself. Sometimes it's good to consult as well. I think that's something as well. For myself, I learned the hard way. I tried once, like, okay, I'll do everything myself. And I made a lot of mistakes. And later I was okay, now I need to speak to someone that understand and can help me. But I love that, number one, you are trying your best to educate. And in South Africa, we need a lot of that. Majority of South Africans do not understand tax, don't know why they even pay tax. So you, as someone, also saying, why are you paying tax? This is how tax works. This is how it impacts your savings, your investments, your day-to-day life, because money is an expression of who you are. I love that. So thank you so much for keeping on pushing content in that way, simplifying it and making sure it's easy accessible for average South Africans. So thank you so much as well for joining my series in the Investor Chair.
Oh, no, it's been a pleasure being here. Man, this conversation, I felt like it was so short.
No, we must keep it simple, get straight to the point, and as I said, we cover majority of the things. So thank you so much, Chef. I really appreciate it. And guys, do remember to go to all the links. I'll put all of his links from YouTube, Twitter, everywhere. I will put them in the description of this video as well, guys. This conversation was proudly sponsored by Centrix, trying to simplify the world of investing for all South Africans, because it's not only about just buying shares, it's also understanding the tax implication of it, understanding everything that impacts who you are in terms of dealing with your finances, dealing with your investments, or dealing with everything. So to know more about Centrix, guys, I will put the link to their app on the description of this video, as well as to ensure I put it here on this video. As always, guys, I am Ivan Specialist Sambo, your student investor. Thank you so much for watching.